Hey Disney's California Adventure Bear, I have a quick question for you. Is it called Disney's California Adventure or Disney California Adventure? Oh, okay, so it's not possessive. Interesting, but your sweatshirt says that. Anybody answer this question? Greetings everybody. I made a video recently talking about the differences comparing Walt Disney World to Disneyland as far as the attractions go. However, there are some specific, unique attractions to each park here in the United States. And I had one of you comment and say they would like to see a follow-up video talking about those, so thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. So, let's talk about the very specific attractions you're going to find on both the West Coast and the East Coast. Let's get to it. Before we dive in completely, I want to lay down a few things to keep in mind as we go forward. This video acts as a companion piece to my comparison video between Walt Disney World and Disneyland and should be watched first. I say this because while attractions like the Matterhorn bobsleds, and Expedition Everest, Legend of the Forbidden Mountain, are unique in their own rights, I used them as points of comparison in the last video, and they will not be discussed here again. Also, I am sticking to the parks within the United States. When I say a ride only exists in one park, I mean between the two in the US. There are some on this list that you can actually find in the other Disney parks throughout the world, but I'm keeping it simple for this one. Let's begin on the West Coast with Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. Starting in the happiest land of them all, Fantasyland. You have many distinct attractions, especially when it comes to dark rides. Snow White's Enchanted Wish, Pinocchio's Daring Journey, Alice in Wonderland, and the cornerstone of the Disney parks, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, all reside here. While versions of the dark rides featuring Snow White and J. Thaddeus Toad used to also be found in the Magic Kingdom in Florida, they no longer are. Pinocchio's and Snow's attractions utilize similar wooden carts to bring you through scenes of their respective adventures. Alice has you board a caterpillar as you fall down the rabbit hole, complete with narration. One truly unique aspect of this one is how it actually runs on top of Mr. Toad's and has an outdoor portion. Next time you're going into the Very Merry Birthday Party, take note of the heat in there, as that shares the same place as Toad's Inferno Room. Speaking of Toad, lastly you hop into a car of your own to follow in the frog steps, as it were, of Mr. Toad's mayhem-induced outing. Over the last few years, a few of the Fantasyland dark rides, such as Snow White's and Alice's, have received some extra visual enhancements as well. While I just covered the town square of Fantasyland, I'd be remiss not to mention the Casey Jr. Railroad and Storybook Land canal boats that intertwine towards the back of the land. Casey Jr. has you sit in one of a unique set of train cars as you steam around the outskirts of the canals. On the other hand, the Storybook Land canal boats have you hop aboard a small boat piloted by a cast member that helps tell familiar fables thanks to the models along the shoreline. Basically, the Jungle Cruise, but swap out the animals for dioramas of Disney stories. Finally, when it comes to Fantasyland, I did want to briefly mention the Sleeping Beauty Castle walkthrough. Not a ride or show per se, but is definitely a cool experience if you've never witnessed it. To break it down, you walk through stone-laden corridors while experiencing the story of Aurora via animated pictures and vignettes. For fans specifically of Maleficent, it is a must-do. Davy Crockett's Explorer canoes can be found over in Critter Country. I'm not sure this is even an attraction, but more so a workout. Paddle around the rivers of America on an actual canoe. Full disclosure, I have only ridden this once and did so one-handed as I was filming this video for Provost Park Pass. A truly unique first-time experience. And the last ride I want to talk about in Walt's original Magic Kingdom is found over in Mickey's Toontown, Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin. A zany adventure that has you traverse the mean streets of Toontown as you race to avoid being dissolved into nothingness via the dip. As the Imagineers put it, the ride itself is as if you placed a spinning teacup from the Mad Hatter Tea Party onto the track for Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. A great little tucked away gem, in my opinion. Let's move on to Disney California Adventure, or as the diehards like to call it, Disney's California Adventure. While it rests on the bones of one of Disney's most controversial attractions, Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue is a charming dark ride tucked in the Hollywood Studios portion of the park. You are introduced to the world behind your closet door to catch a taxi to witness the sights and smells of this monster-filled world. Like many of the Fantasyland dark rides mentioned earlier, you go through the scenes of the eponymous film. This is my friendly reminder to the Disney higher-ups who are obviously watching this video. Please see my Dreamville in Park video for more details on how to make a Monsters Inc. themed coaster. Moving on. While at the time of this recording, Avengers Campus has yet to launch their main e-ticket style attraction, we are left with the unique Web Slingers, a Spider-Man adventure. Think of it as Toy Story Midway Mania 2.0, but you have no apparatus for shooting other than your arms. Fun little fact, I actually rode this 5 times without flinging a single web while filming for my buddy Chris's channel, so I have an odd relationship with this one too. Right next door in Radiator Springs, you can find Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters, which is a trackless open-air ride where you find yourself seated in one of a plethora of dancing vehicles. Good ride, especially at night. This last batch I'm going to group together because they all fall more so under the traditional fair attractions you would find all around the country and are all located near one another in the Pixar Pier/Paradise Gardens portions of the park. Those are the Golden Zephyr, Jumping Jellyfish, Silly Symphony Swings, Jesse's Critter Carousel, and the Pixar Pal Around. The Zephyr, Jesse's, and Swings spin around, Jellyfish, well, jumps. And the Pixar Pal Around is either a calming ride displaying some of the best views of the park, or a terrifying, nightmare-inducing thrill ride that swings more than the Silly Symphony Swings. That wraps up the Disneyland attractions I didn't compare in my previous video, which means we're hopping from California all the way over to Florida. Let's once again begin with a park that is anchored by a castle, in that of Magic Kingdom. While Snow White's Scary Adventures is no longer frightening guests of all ages, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train provides representation of Walt's first feature-length cartoon in Fantasyland. For me, the most unique aspect of the ride are the ride vehicles themselves, wooden mine carts that gently sway from side to side. While the attraction itself is relatively short, it does feature an animatronic heavy show scene with all the dwarfs. Also, the the Wicked Queen does make a brief appearance in hag form, just to give you a quick shot of nightmare fuel at the end. Now, rotating over to Tomorrowland, we get to experience a slice of what Disneyland's version used to have with 2 glorious attractions: Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress and the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover. Carousel of Progress is a true Disney classic attraction that originally premiered at the 1964-1965 World's Fair and follows a family through roughly a century or more of technological innovation. I like to think that the family ages incredibly slowly, especially the dog. Rover, I love you. The most fascinating element of the whole experience is the fact that you are sitting in a theater that rotates around centralized show scenes. Next, let's talk about the true futuristic splendor that is the People Mover, a concept I wish that could be in every Magic Kingdom land. This ride tours you through multiple attractions, shops, models, and even a few brief show scenes that Tomorrowland has to offer. Replete with indoor and outdoor portions, this is an incredibly calming and breezy ride above the denizens of the future. It really is just a treat. I wanted to briefly mention that Tron Light Cycle Power Run will be debuting at the Magic Kingdom soon. You get to ride your own light cycle and zip around the grid. I haven't experienced it yet, but from the videos from Shanghai, it looks like a fun addition to the US-based parks. The last major Magic Kingdom attraction I have to discuss is an opening day classic, the Country Bear Jamboree. Sit in awe as a colorful cast of bodacious bears belt ballads and pull on your heartstrings. The showstopper though? Big Al, no doubt. That guy is a legend. Following in the order the parks opened, we are going to EPCOT next. And let me tell you up front that this park might just have the highest amount of unique attractions. I want to start with the flagship experience, which would be Spaceship Earth. An omni-mover that slowly ascends and eventually descends through the iconic geodesic sphere, showcasing humanity's progress in communication. Circling around, we then bump into the Universe of Energy, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, a slow-moving theater-style attraction following Ellen and Bill Nye the Science Guy to discover how energy... Wait, this isn't right. I meant to say that Cosmic Rewind is an indoor roller coaster that rotates the riders to view various show scenes. I haven't been on it yet, but judging by the number of trash cans at the exit, I'm sure it'll be a good time. Also, that's why you're getting a still image for this one. Let's move on to the other possible lunch-seizing attraction, in that of Mission: Space. Ever wonder what it's like to be a vial in a centrifuge? Well, wonder no longer. Although the attraction has undergone some toning down and now features a spinning and non-spinning version, it is still a somewhat intense and claustrophobic experience. Basically, you're an astronaut going on one of 2 daring missions. Moving on down the way to something much less intense, we now find ourselves in the Mexico Pavilion, located in World Showcase to enjoy the Grand Fiesta Tour starring the 3 Caballeros, a slow-moving boat ride featuring the titular trio as they travel throughout Mexico. Right next door to it is another boat ride located at the back of the Norway Pavilion. Frozen Ever After acts as a sort of sequel to Frozen in that it recants the plot briefly in the beginning, but features familiar songs in a subsequent adventure. I will say that while I do miss the previous attraction Maelstrom, the happy characters do make the backwards and drop portions much less alarming. As we continue down around World Showcase, we find ourselves in the American Adventure Pavilion, aka the America Pavilion, aka USA, USA, USA. Here, we find the animatronic-centered show, The American Adventure. Hosted by Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain, this tale briefly describes the history of America from the beginning all the way to the present. Lastly, our final ride I want to bring up, found in World Showcase, is located over in the France Pavilion. Remy's Ratatouille adventure has you shrink down to the size of a rat and experience the film from a slightly altered perspective and timeline. Like a few others on this list, I still haven't ridden this one, but future vlogs are incoming. Traversing back into the Future World section of the park, or should I say World Nature, we find ourselves at the Imagination Pavilion. The ride here plays host to the unofficial mascot of the park, Figment, a purple dragon who thrives on ideas, inspiration, and, well, yeah, imagination. Journey into Imagination with Figment is more along the lines of a classic Disney dark ride that showcases off various scenes that stimulate the following senses: sound, sight, and smell. Before the PR disaster of a touch and taste lab can be visited, you veer off course to experience a heaping dose of Figment whimsy. Next, I want to jump up to the seas with Nemo and friends to briefly touch on the Omni-Mover clam ride that is found there. Very, very similar in ride experience to either of the Little Mermaid attractions found on both coasts. This is another sort of sequel-based experience where you see many of the characters you know from the film Finding Nemo. However, Nemo plays the role of the sadist as he avoids his father, Marlin, causing events to play out in a similar fashion. Finishing up in EPCOT, I have to spend a little time gushing about Living with the Land. A lovely, unique, and charming boat ride that has you glide past scenes of nature that culminate in a tour of greenhouses and laboratories. The older I get, the more I appreciate this complex attraction. Dark ride show scenes, a restaurant floating overhead, fruit, and agricultural education create a potent mix of old-school Disney Imagineering. That wraps up the experimental prototype community of tomorrow's theme park incarnation. Now we move on to the glitz and glam of Hollywood. Here in Disney's Hollywood Studios, you will find 2 distinct attractions: Muppet Vision 3D and Slinky Dog Dash. The latter of the 2 is a Toy Story-themed roller coaster for the whole family, while the former is a 4D theater show that showcases off the best puppets ever.
Maybe Bean could set off the fireworks!
That takes care of Hollywood Studios, but I did want to ask any still watching at this point if you'd like a future follow-up video discussing more of the shows, walkthroughs, and panoramic theater experiences found in the parks. If so, let me know. I'm not including them here because they typically lack the same type of interactivity or motion that the predominant attractions do. Time to visit the last park on today's list, Disney's Animal Kingdom. Sticking with the theme of interactive shows, let's start underneath the Tree of Life to visit Flick in It's Tough to Be a Bug. Depending on your proclivity for or against entomology, this will either be a quirky little performance or one of the most terrifying experiences since extraterrestrial alien encounter. Seriously, I've sat in this theater and heard many children and adults cry out in horror. Simply put, if you like 4D style shows with water spray and bugs scooting past your bench while you're sitting on it, then you'll adore this one. Let's hop on over to Pandora to visit the two specialized attractions here, Flight of Passage and Navi River Journey. Flight of Passage is what I like to call Soarin' 2.0. You straddle a mechanical saddle that simulates the breathing of a banshee from the film Avatar. The reason I compare it to Soarin' is due to the mechanics of the ride itself. You are thrust outward over a large screen that acts as your uplink to your own personal avatar to undergo the Navi rite of passage. This ride is actually a bit more intense than some might originally think, so if you are prone to motion sickness, you may want to reconsider or watch a few videos to see what you're in for. Navi River Journey, on the other hand, is the complete opposite, acting as a slow-moving boat ride that showcases off the natural bioluminescent flora and fauna of the alien planet. At the end, you can bear witness to one of the most creepily lifelike animatronics in that of the Shaman of Songs. She sings a nice little tune in her native tongue that I'm happy to report I've loosely translated here. Moving north, we run into Africa for one of the most ambitious attractions Disney has ever constructed, Kilimanjaro Safaris. This is the true cornerstone of the park and is a somewhat spiritual successor to what Walt had in mind for the original Jungle Cruise. As you ride aboard a tall, open-air truck, you drive past multiple animal habitats, meticulously separated, and witness some of the best-known animals from Africa. A true must-do attraction that changes every single time you ride it because of the different types of behavior any animal may exhibit at any time. Right next door, you can find the Wildlife Express train that takes you up to Rafiki's Planet Watch, which showcases off some of the behind-the-scenes enclosures for the animals too. That covers all the parks and their unique attractions found in the States that I did not compare in the last video. However, there's one more pseudo-attraction that I must mention here. Like the monorail before it, this one acts more as a means of transportation rather than a ride, but still it feels like a ride to me. That is the Skyliner, a system designed to take guests from the resort's Pop Century, Art of Animation, and the Caribbean Beach Resort to both EPCOT and Disney's Hollywood Studios. Even if you aren't staying at these hotels, you should still hop aboard just for the slight thrill and calming elevated experience.
Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the most magical flight on Earth.
You know, to be honest, I don't know if I need as many updates as they give us sometimes. Like, it's kind of a little much. Be nice little music in here, maybe, I don't know. It's just like bum 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 bum.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now arriving at Disney's Pop Century Resort and Disney's Art of Animation Resort. This concludes your journey. All passengers.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me here today. I hope that sheds a little bit more light on the unique attractions you're going to find both at Disneyland over on the West Coast and Walt Disney World over on the East Coast. If you have any further questions or follow-ups, please let me know down in the comments and I will respond to all of them. You guys have no idea how much those comments just mean to me, by the way. If I can help you or just, whatever else, I love seeing comments. I really do. Either way, I appreciate you spending time with me here today. It means a heck of a lot. And until next time, just remember to adapt and overcome. Bye-bye. Hey Disney's California Adventure Bear. I have a quick question for you. Is it called Disney's California Adventure or Disney California Adventure? Oh, interesting. It must have changed. I still like your sweatshirt though.